Have you heard Las Vegas is next week?
Oh, you've heard Las Vegas is next week. I've not heard.
I tell you what, I'm over it already.
Oh,
I'm so done. Do you know what? Do you know what tipped me over the edge was those bloody curbs painted like cards, and I was like, nah, we're done here. I'm out.
You want to steal one, mate? You want to run down the road with on your back?
I'm checked out.
I've got a confession to make.
Are you like them?
You love them. I quite like those guys. No. Bang, I'm with you. I think they're cool.
No, it's just too much.
I think those are little touches. Have you seen there's an 8-minute long TV segment for the introduction?
Oh, God.
Before the national anthem, it's just got driver introduction and race intro. That's longer than we usually get, folks.
This is the formula.
This is going to be something. This is the formula.
It almost makes getting up at 6 o'clock worth it. Actually, it's going to be earlier than that. The race starts at 6 o'clock. So it almost makes the 5 o'clock start bearable.
So hopefully F1 will actually start to market this race at some point within the next 7 days, and the race actually happens. But to your point, Sam, it's an early start for us in the UK. How much pressure is F1 under for this race to be good? We know the amount of money, the amount of marketing they are pouring into this. How much pressure is the sport under for it to be a good race? I
think F1 as a marketable sport, as an entity, is under gigantic levels of pressure, and they have heaped it entirely upon themselves. It's fully self-inflicted, I believe, and I know what they've done here. They've gone, to use Vegas speech, it's gone all or bust, all or nothing here. They put in all their eggs into one basket, and they've committed to making Vegas this spectacle, and they've tried to take it away from the likes of Monaco, which was, of course, the jewel in the crown on Formula One. And I think the reason why it's all or bust is because if Vegas goes well, if it's super exciting, if the fans get on board with it, if we get a great race, if the Las Vegas track supports good racing, I'm not sure about it, but we'll see, then I think they will cap the point where they go, we've got the American market. Formula One is still very much in its surgency into into the American market, into North America. It's still not the size it is in Europe by any means. Even in South America, some parts of Asia, the Americas is still nowhere near one of their biggest markets. It's still very much in its growth phase. And I do think that if Vegas is a giant hit, they can kick on from that point. They go, that works. Look at the spectacle we're creating. It's on the level of the Super Bowl, which you all love and want to watch every single year. We've got Las Vegas, and I think that's what they're hoping for. But if this bombs, if this absolutely flounders, if it's like a fish lying on the side of the road after a bad storm, flapping around, going, "Where's the water? Bring me back the water," and it's nowhere to be found, much like Las Vegas.
Isn't that the plot to Sharknado?
Watch it, folks. It's a wild ride. Then honestly, Las Vegas will very much run out of air, I think, in America. And I don't know how much more it will be able to step up just using marketing ploys like Drive to Survive, like having a race in Miami. I think they need this spectacle to work to really go, we've stepped above the growth phase. We've moved into we're a permanent fixture now on sports TV. We want to be in people's homes. There's merchandising shops everywhere. This is, I think, the final moment that cements Formula One in North America as it's here to stay and you're going to bloody love it. Otherwise, I think it just becomes a B-rate sport. Sorry, folks, if you're watching this on video on YouTube, I've just seen that...
Ben, are you going to heaven? Is this it?
The light has opened upon Ben, and he is the risen...
Oh, that's such a visual reference, but that's incredible.
I'm gonna try and rearrange a little bit.
That's so funny. Honestly, folks, we're talking about Sin City here, and Ben has been lifted into the heavens. He has been absorbed of his sins, and he will not have to deal with the pain.
Ben, resist touching the light. You may disappear forever.
Stay with us, Ben. We need you.
I was trying to work it out, and then I realised this is quite an unusual, at least recently, an unusual time of day for us to be recording. We have been a lot of evening races recently, and we record our midweek episodes in the evening. So, but it was fine before we started recording, and now I'm actually blind.
Bathed in the holy light.
Oh, Lord.
Right. Vegas. Harry, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is make or break, as Sam suggests?
I don't think it's all down to this one race we've got, but I agree with Sam in that this feels like the final piece of the puzzle in in F1's presence in North America. My worry is, I've seen a lot of commentary over the past week about how F1 have got this wrong because I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to the weather in Vegas during November, but it gets quite cold at night.
It's juicy.
Oh, it's proper like UK cold, and it is cold here.
One of the coldest races of all time, possibly cold.
And they're saying that F1 have misjudged this, and it's going to be a disaster. I don't think they have. I think they know exactly what they're doing. And my worry is that it's going to be. Do you remember we went to Saudi in 2021 for the first time, and it was just Hamilton and Verstappen aside, it was carnage that entire race. And then F1 sort of came away. We're like, what a race! It wasn't a race. It was stupid, and I hate Saudi. But anyway, my worry is we're going to have this. This is what F1 is marketing it as, and we're going to have a carnage-filled race.
We are.
Not necessarily a good race, but a carnage one. And they're going to deem it a success, and we move on. And I'm like, I don't know if I want that. But that's the way I see it going if we're going to be racing in 5 degrees, and it might rain at some point during the weekend as well.
Good.
It rained when I was in Vegas. It's a sight. It's a sight to see it raining in a desert. I think maybe apart from Turkey 2020, in terms of the modern era, this could be the coldest Grand Prix we've seen in a good 20 years.
Nürburgring 2020 was freezing, wasn't it?
I think the coldest one, I even looked it up, is the 78 Canadian Grand Prix. I think it was. That's the absolute coldest. But this is going to be up there with the top 3 or 4 coldest GPs we've ever had. And boy, them cars don't work well when it's cold.
No. I mean, the tyres they will know. They will not do the tyre thing.
We're on strike.
We're going to win.
Yes. No tyre wear.
Through their tyres.
Come on, man.
Could you imagine? Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if it is a worry for me because I just think it's going to be chaotic and ridiculous, and F1 will be like, well, that was great, and you know, it'll probably work for them and help cement their place in America, but I just think this weekend's going to be. I'm not prepared for it. I'm in my mind. I'm not ready for this. But yeah, I think it's going to be a big weekend. F1 are clearly going all out here. I mean, even the pictures of like the pit building with the massive F1 sign on top of it.
It is quite cool.
That is cool, but like this is my point. Like they are going for it, and I think they know how important this is for them. So. Yeah, I'm not saying if it somehow doesn't end up being a chaotic race, which I'm struggling to see how that would happen. I still don't think that's like game over for F1. I mean, we went to Caesar's Palace more than once, right?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Well, there you go then. So if we can do the car park race a couple of times, then we'll give this track a few chances as well. But my feeling is it's going to be carnage, and they're going to say, "Well done, us, pat ourselves on the back." I've just read that they're hosting a recovery brunch inside the Sphere on Sunday morning.
We're there. If you're not seeing us, folks, we're on the Sphere.
So,
recovery brunch.
Recovery brunch.
To recover from what is going to be the race. Literally.
We might need to meet up for a recovery brunch.
I think we'll have to. Good Lord.
Sure.
We'll build our own Sphere out of cardboard and bubble wrap.
Yes. Oh my. Let's chat off there about that.
Can I get a quick question? Ben, you'll probably know this because you are the feet of all knowledge.
Chance I know this now.
How long is the contract with Vegas? Is it a decade?
I don't actually know.
That's a classic. The one bit of info that Ben has no idea.
He did that to him on the live show as well about Nico Rosberg winning the USGP, and I had to Wikipedia it in front of 70 people.
I was very wrong.
That was quite funny though, and there aren't 70 people here today, I'm afraid.
Just 3.
Yeah, I don't know whether I think you're absolutely spot on, by the way, Harry. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe if this race doesn't go very well, we're back to the car park next year. That's how it'll work. Get demoted back down.
That's it. Back to the car park.
I agree with you that I think F1 knows what it's doing here in terms of creating carnage. You know, whether it goes. Whether it's a good race or a chaotic race remains to be seen. I think if you were to present F1 with the 2 options, chaotic race or good race, they would probably take the chaotic race for the amount of sound bites and short clips that they'll be able to feed out for the rest of eternity off the back of that. Part of me does think that it might be I don't know what the right phrase is, whether it's like a necessary evil or just like, would a chaotic race be the worst thing in the world to increase the buzz and the engagement around the race in particular, which then might get people semi-involved to go out and look at other better races. I don't know if in the long term it might actually be a good thing to increase the overall base of F1 supporters in the USA. It could be a misrepresentation if it is chaotic and people are expecting that every single race. But yeah, those cold temperatures, that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Is it going to go in the direction of a new race like Saudi Arabia or Turkey, as you reference? Is it going to be Baku-esque, where the first race we expected carnage there didn't happen, much to Nico Rosberg's delight? I think it remains to be seen what we're going to get. But I agree with the first point you make, Sam, that there is immense pressure on F1 here because, firstly, just look at time zones. They are putting on a Grand Prix in Las Vegas. They're making this a marquee event. They're putting it on at 10 p.m. US Pacific time, where the race is being held, which will then become 1 a.m. for anyone on the East Coast. It's 6 a.m. for anyone in the UK. It's 7 a.m. for mainland Europe. I'm not suggesting that those are the only key markets of F1, because of course that's not the case, but you are taking a huge chunk of your audience and either making people stay up or get up for it. And you've got to give people a reason to. If this race doesn't end up being very good, that decreases your chances that people are going to make the effort next year. So I think there's a lot on that. Just for example, I'm not saying our audience is completely representative of F1's audience, but if you were to look at the US, mainland Europe, and UK, that's like 80% of our audience. Like, it's a huge chunk of what F1 is appealing to, in a less than ideal time zone. So I think there's a lot of pressure on it. You're right. They are putting this as a marquee event. If it doesn't perform as a marquee event, that's a problem. So yeah, I think the US is in a bit of the sport is in a bit of a not a tough time, but it is, I think, going to go one of two ways after this Grand Prix. I think you could make the argument that interest in F1 is starting to mature or plateau in the US, but this could then kick on to another degree, because F1 still has room to grow. It's still not on the level of NASCAR in the US, as an example. So, whether F1 becomes the number one go-to motorsport in the US or whether it kind of just stays where it is right now, a lot could be riding on this weekend, I think, or next weekend.
On a much more minute scale, they've miffed off quite a lot of people in Las Vegas, haven't they? They pulled up a lot of trees. And have you seen that the Bellagio fountains haven't got any water in them for like the first time in like 60 years or something like that? They just sucked the water out.
Turn them off.
Good.
Turn them off. Formula One's here now. We want grandstands. Screw your fountains. Fountains of beer and fuel. Anyway, they've upset a lot of people. Have you seen that all the bridges as well have had, like plasticine put up so you can't see the view of the track on the bridges, because that's a free view apparently. So they're just annoying a lot of people.
Nope.
No free race for you, M9s.
Any thoughts in the massive price drops of tickets and hotels and the like? Because the last couple of weeks it's come down pretty dramatically, Sam.
We could almost go at this point. They're really almost giving them away.
I'm leaving a bit later, I reckon.
I reckon we could fly out tomorrow if someone wants to pay for it.
Yeah, there's definitely flights going.
It says a lot. The fact they haven't sold out the first event of this kind is ridiculous, because you look at the other events that do sell out rapidly are still very much the classic Grand Prix. Your Monza tends to go incredibly quickly. Silverstone flies out the door. There are tracks like this that have been around since the dawn of Formula One that every year, like a whistle, it's gone. You blow your whistle, the tickets are off. Bye-bye now. None for you. Yeah, Las Vegas and some of the other American Grand Prix, Miami as well, and I think even COTA, which has been there for, nearly a decade now, they're putting tickets in Walmart, in supermarkets. They're advertising them, in shops that you could buy little gift cards to get a ticket. And that is almost an unheard of phenomenon in the world of Formula One, that tickets are this close to a Grand Prix are not only readily available, they are having to be slashed at discount prices. And I must admit, I'd be quite annoyed if I bought my ticket like 9 months ago and I saw that a ticket to stay at the Bellagio Hotel and a grandstand seat had come down in almost half the price, I'd be like, I want that rate, please, because this is a bit of a Mickey take. It's not promising. It tells you that the American fan base are not getting on board with a Grand Prix like this that often. Maybe they're spoilt for choice. I don't know. It's a whole continent. You know, they've only got as many races still less races than Europe has. But it isn't great that the first Grand Prix we've had here in 40 years or whatever it is cannot sell out. It's a worrying statistic.
Any thoughts at all on the prices being slashed, Harry? I mean, it's still worth mentioning that a massive price reduction from where they started is still far more expensive than most other Grand Prix, but it's still quite a massive come down from where they were.
Yeah, I agree with what you say, Sam. It's fairly normal, though, I think, for this to happen. I think there's just a lot of scrutiny because of the massive price of these tickets, and there's a lot of scrutiny about these tickets coming down quite so much in price. But in the run-up to an event, you know, you get rid of your last bit of stock, don't you? So it's I guess a worry, like you say, Sam, that they have not actually sold it out, but I don't know. I don't think F1 will be that worried, will they? They're making so much money off this damn event. Like, I don't think they're going to be too worried if they don't sell every single last ticket, and that's why the prices have come down for these last ones that are remaining. So, yeah, I can understand why they haven't, but the fact that I don't think there's a huge amount left from. Well, I don't know. I don't speak to the promoter, but I don't.
Why not?
He doesn't listen to the podcast.
Call him up. Why? Is he not a friend?
He's not a friend, no.
We're calling you out, promoter.
Jeff Vegas, as he's called.
Hello, Jeff Vegas. If you could get in touch, please.
Mr. G Vegas. Yeah, so, but I we've not had reports that they've not been able to sell any. This sounds like they just get rid of the last lot. So I guess it is a concern, but also I just don't think F1 are going to be that worried about it, to be honest.
I think from like a spectacle point of view as well, I'm not saying that F1 will want to keep people away, obviously, but I think if you were to have slightly less than 100% capacity at, let's say, Miami, using another recently introduced Grand Prix in the US, that would look a bit weird. Like if you were to see empty grandstands at Miami, that would look a bit odd because there's nothing compensating for it, if that makes sense. I know it's next to the stadium, but outside of that, it's not going through the stadium. So it still seems not small time, but you could put that, if you take the stadium away, there's nothing really about the track itself that screams Miami, apart from obviously the water that exists
that
on
fantastic
the track.
Plastic water.
One day.
But point being, like Las Vegas itself is kind of the backdrop in that you could put no one there and they've still got all of the images, all of the videos they'll ever need to show that F1 has been in Vegas. And it's kind of just being there itself, which is the promoters, what the promoter is after. So, I agree with what both of you said on that one.